we're streaming now. So welcome everyone, and we got a couple good questions for you guys with Jefrrel and Chad, right?
Yep, chat.
Okay. All right. The first question, we'll get straight into it, is what are some red flags that you have ignored in the past, but now you recognize and won't compromise on?
Oh, that's pretty easy.
All
Respect
right.
has always been a big one for me. That's what I've learned through my life. Like, respect is number one. If you don't get respect, it's not going to work. End of story.
It's very clear for you to see that now,
Oh, very much, yeah.
like
Yeah.
actual red flags and green flags.
Yeah, well, that's the first thing. If there's no respect, then it's not going to happen. That's number one, and there's no compromise on that. Of course, it goes both ways. Like, I'll respect her if she respects me, but yeah, if there's no respect, it's not happening.
That's a good one. For me, I think it's over drinking. Definitely a big red flag, which in the past I kind of like, it's not a big deal. It's just having fun, whatever. But then, as relationship progressed, it definitely is a big deal.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've definitely learned from that. Like, big red flag.
Okay. All right. Here's another one. You guys are married, right?
Mm.
So the question, and I wrote this before I knew you guys, the married couple was coming on. So, would you change your last name when getting married? Would you have a problem with your girl not changing her last name?
Yeah, I would have a problem with her not doing it.
I joked about that in the beginning. I was like, I'm going to keep it just to see. And he's like, what?
Yeah.
It's hilarious.
Yeah, well, I think, if you're going to commit to a marriage, you know what that involves. And traditionally that involves the last name of the man, the guy. So that's just part of it.
Just a
And
name.
I don't see why it'd be a problem.
Yeah, why would it be a problem?
I know the reasons why are it takes a lot of time for the girl to go and change all her information, but that's pretty much the only one.
Yeah, but if you're going to marry somebody, that you know what you're getting into. That's just one part of it.
On the last podcast, the one thing that was really like, whoa, like real life was, what about when you're in a situation where there's like the kids and somebody says, Mrs. Johnson or whatever, and then it was like the wrong match, and it's like there's like that weird awkward dynamic. It's because like, right, like that's the brand is like that's who that family is.
Well, that's the family. Yeah, it's a family name. Exactly.
I don't know. I don't think it's that big of a deal either way. Like, I mean, like,
even if that does happen, it's like, so what? Like,
yeah, I'm like, it's not big. I mean, I think you make it a big deal, I guess. Are you reading too much into it? Like,
Well, I would be, yeah. Because it's like, why don't you want my name?
it's territorial branding.
Yeah. It's like, why wouldn't you want to marry me, but you don't want my name? Like, why not? Something's off there.
Some women are so attached to their own name
Well, then why are they getting married?
because they think they can have their cake and eat it too.
You can't. You make your choice. It's one or the other.
So the woman having the same name as you is very important to you.
Yeah, of course.
And you, not necessarily to say it's very important to you, but it makes your man happy, so you do it.
yeah, like, it wouldn't matter to me. I'm like, I'll take it away. If it's important to you, I'm like, all right, that's fine. I mean, it's not a big deal.
Okay, that's fair. I mean, we live in like new times now. Traditionally, this wouldn't even come up. Like, you guys are crazy. What are you even talking about here?
Well, traditional values are a good thing, though.
Yeah.
Ooh, what I've actually seen come up too, and it's interesting, is where they decide to go with a whole new last name. Like, they're not going with his, not going with hers. We're just gonna pick a new one and go with that. What are you guys?
Not
thoughts on that?
not even hyphenated, but just a new one.
Just a whole new one. Like, we're gonna pick this new one.
Ridiculous. Again, why do it? Why do that? I wouldn't do it. Why would I change my name? And
I don't know.
again,
Like,
it comes back to, why don't you want my name? What's so bad about my name? You want to be married to me?
what if the guy just has a really silly name? I've heard some silly last names, and I'm so sorry, but the first thought in my mind when I hear those really silly last, I'm so sorry, I would not be able to take it.
It does go the other way around though. Like instead of the opposite of silly is like some really cool last names. The dude last podcast, he said that his last name's Seven and his ex-wife kept the last name even that they're not together anymore.
Yeah.
So it's like some cool names. It's like you want to keep them, and then there's the silly names where I guess you don't want to keep them. You know?
No, like I mean, I'm glad that you don't have a silly last name because I was like, yeah, whatever. But I've come across guys that have like really silly last names, and I was just like,
like
so,
Little Peter or something.
You know, like I don't want to say them in case that person hears this podcast. but that was my thought. It's like, whoa, I feel so bad for your wife because like I would not want that last name.
Yeah,
that's hilarious.
So I don't know if I'd be like, that would be one of those circumstances where like, can we pick like a neutral name, or can you change like one letter from your last name so it's not, you know, what it sounds like.
What's the craziest last name you ever heard, bro? Like silly. Like, oh man, I feel bad for that kid growing up. He had like that last name. And by the way, Alfred, Jefrrel, Chad.
Alfred,
Bean. Bean has always been a funny one to me.
Would you change your last name to Bean?
My last name to Bean?
No. Would you change your last name to Bean, Jefrrel? It's not that bad still.
Jefrrel Bean.
What about you? No matter how silly the name, does it even fucking matter? That's my last name, even if it's Little Peter.
So, because if it was that weird, maybe I would have changed it myself by now.
Right.
So, if it's okay with me, then
I could see me changing my last name for the sake of you know, a lot of names have occupational meaning to them, right? But mine's in my language. Nobody understands what it is, but it's actually like clockmaker or clocksmith or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, I could change it to that.
Okay, I'm gonna be bold just so you can see my example. And I'm so sorry if this person hears this podcast, but I'm sure I'm not the first one that told you this. But we've come across a couple where the man's last name is Pickle Licker. I'm not lying. I'm so sorry. I could not be the only person that said this. That's a really funny last name.
Yeah.
You know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I couldn't do it. I mean, I'd be like, I'm so sorry. I like you, but we gotta pick a neutral name, or you gotta change a letter in that name because I don't want that name.
Yeah, that's true.
Am I right? Like,
well, maybe
you wouldn't meet me halfway if that
or something,
was...
but yeah.
That is his legit last name. I'm like,
all right. So for Pickle Lickers, just saying it is funny, right?
Like, yeah. Come on.
That's got to be a crazy
Christmas
Christmas
card. How
card.
does someone get that name, right?
Or if you're a CEO, Mr. Pickle Licker, you can't even take the dude seriously.
Yeah.
I think if I was ever trying to be a CEO, you have to change the name immediately, because as soon as someone says it, it's a comedic, laugh. Yeah. And you don't want people laughing at you. So
well, it's like that Simpsons episode. Homer changed his name to Max Power.
Yeah.
What a cool name.
Exactly. What a cool name. Exactly. So I could see the girl being, look, changing names, fine, but we want to have a powerful brand, and we might want to. So it's kind of fucked up, because I didn't really think there was an exception to the rule until you were like, well, what about this? So I'm sure there's other last names that. Okay, the question was, did you change your last name when getting married? Yes, of course, except for in the rare case if your name is something that would get laughs every single time, and let alone the kids, right?
Come on, think of the kids.
Yeah.
And would you have a problem with your girl if your name was Pickle Licker?
Well, again, like if
Mr.
I had
Traditional?
some weird name, I would probably have changed it myself.
Okay.
By now.
Okay, that's fair. You dodged my question perfectly. What if here we go. What if your partner thought therapy was a joke and would not consider it?
As in personal therapy or marriage therapy or?
Yeah, marriage therapy, I think.
I think if you're having issues, it's important. And if they're not up for it, then It's not going to happen. It's not going to work. Like, why don't you want to fix
What
this?
would okay, so you would ask them the question, why don't you want to fix this?
Yeah. Well, if they're opposing to like marriage therapy, if you're having issues,
And they said,
then
I think it's
there's
a
your problem
joke.
right
Ha
there.
ha 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 ha.
Oh, that's why your marriage is busted. Yeah.
Well, no, but they said, I don't think nothing's wrong and nothing's broken. I think marriage therapy is a joke. So how would you that's how you would handle it?
Well, ask them what their suggestion is.
Okay.
It's like if you're so against it, what are you going to do? But then is the marriage having problems or is it not? If it is, and you both know that it is, well then, what are you going to do about it?
I think if someone resisted it that hard, they'd be under the assumption that like, I'm totally fine, right? Like, I'm not broken. I'm not the one who needs this shit.
Narcissist, yeah. Yeah, I've been there.
But no, maybe it's not narcissism, but it could be narcissism.
Well, a
but
narcissist will never accept.
but that's the
responsibility
point
of
is
anything of
what
their
would
own.
you do about that as the partner? How do you deal with that person who's saying, if it's not broke, let's not fix it?
But if it is broke,
If it is broke,
and-
that's the case that you make, right?
yeah. So if
For
it is
sure.
broken and they're refusing to do anything to fix it, well then there's no fixing it.
I think essentially, in a sense, like in a sense for relationships, if one person has a problem, then everyone has a problem. There's a problem overall.
Yeah.
Just because one person's good and another person's not, if it's a relationship, it's
Like your
it's
problems are my
based-
problems.
Yeah, it's based on the two people. So if both people aren't happy, then it's a problem overall.
Yeah.
So it's like even if you don't feel like you need therapy or whatever, like you're gonna have to consider it for the other person because if they're not happy, then now we have a problem.
Exactly. Then it affects
No
the
matter how much you say it's
relationship,
not, there's
Yeah.
gonna be one now.
Yeah.
Okay, so one person's like, if it's not like the narcissist person, right, would be like, if it's not broke, let's not fix it. And then the partner's like, well, I actually do have a real problem, like my feelings are at stake here. So then I don't want to call the dude a narcissist, but for sake of this example, he's the narcissist. So he's like, okay, I'm going to show you that I'm not a narcissist, and we're going to go for the sake of us going to this therapy, but I still think it's a joke.
Well, at least they're willing to try it.
Yeah.
So that means something.
But I would say go into it with the right mindset. I feel like therapy only works for people who want therapy to work.
That's true.
Like if you don't want therapy, like you're not trying to get anything out of it, you're not going to.
Yeah.
If you go there looking to get something out of it, you will. So I mean, I guess it's less of just the going to be going, but like you really have to consider it at that point.
Yeah,
Like
that's
even
true.
if you don't feel like it's that serious, it's like you've got to.
Do you guys think relationships that need therapy right away are bound to work out?
No.
Right away?
You got problems.
No.
from
Right away
day
could
one.
mean a year or two, but
Well, and I guess it depends on like how, because it might be somebody that you really like, but like you guys have a really hard time communicating, but you can't like.
then
you don't-
is it bound to work out or not?
But I mean, sometimes you need like a person in the middle, right? Like,
a mediator, like a
you know what I'm saying?
therapist, or
Because like you guys could be having an argument, right? And I could hear your side of the argument and hear your side of the argument and find the middle ground in there and like, hey, well, he's trying to say this and she's trying to say that. But like when it's just two people, you got two opposite sides. There's no moderator there. So sometimes,
Yeah.
yeah, I guess like
So you're talking about someone to see both sides and come to a common ground kind of thing. Like
Exactly.
if we can't communicate and I can't understand what she's saying, she can't understand what I'm
But
trying to
going back
But-
to my question,
but-
more importantly,
Yeah, sorry, but the thing is, like, it's the right away part that kind of is a red flag for me. If
is a
you're
year
having
right away?
issues
Is a
ri-
year right away?
A year?
a year seems like right away. I mean, because do you go to therapy with people that you're dating? Like, is that a thing?
say. I wouldn't think so.
I mean, I've heard of it, but I'm like, if you're having problems that early on, like
Yeah, so,
during
like-
Yeah, it's
when
not
you're
like-
still at your best, when you're still trying to impress somebody.
So
when
would you say it's a
like-
fair statement to say the relationships that don't need therapy until later on, those are the more successful relationships, or no? That's not a fair statement.
I would say so. Every relationship's going to have issues.
But like, let's say one relationship is issues after 5 years, they need therapy. Then one relationship's after 10, and then 20. And
Yeah,
which
but that's
relationship would you
fine. Like,
guys
if-
assume to be the healthiest?
If
Or
you can
is
go
that
5 years and everything is good, but within 5 years you start to have issues.
But I'm
That's fine.
asking the question, is there any correlation to the relationships that don't need therapy as long? In your opinion, this is not professional.
Well, I would say like there's like kind of like a little bit of like a gray area with like counseling, right? So people get into marriage counseling before like they like as soon as they get married, and they'll just have it the whole time. Like they go through counseling as soon as they, you know what I'm saying, the whole time. But it's
That's-
not because there's a problem, but it's
Yeah.
just like
That's
it's just a
the structure
preemptive type thing.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's like, is counseling and therapy the same thing, or?
You kind of stumped me right there because that's true.
Yeah.
That's a totally different subject.
Yeah, but it's kind of like serves the same purpose in a sense.
Okay, so I'm trying to debunk this though. So let's assume it's not that. Okay. They didn't agree to this therapy shit when they got married. They fell in love, and then relationship A was like 5 years. They needed therapy into it. Then 10 years is the next couple, and then 20 years. Would you say the 20-year couple is a happier couple?
I wouldn't, because I don't think if you can go 5 years, that's a good stretch of time. I don't think it matters as much as the length of time, as much as are you willing to work with each other. Like if you go 20 years and then you have massive problems and then you go, no, I'm not doing this anymore, the marriage ends anyway. But if you can go, say, 5 years and you're having problems and you're like, yeah, we're going to fix it, that may go longer than 20 years.
Okay, so assuming which relationship's in better shape at the end of that stint. Like the 5-year one could be like, oh yeah, we got 25 more years in us. The 20-year one is like, we capped out. We were ready to.
Well, that's it. If
call
you go 20 years and it starts having major problems, it's probably not going to go any further. But again, it comes down to, are these individuals willing to work with each other? Do they want the relationship or not? Like if you have problems at 5 years or 20 years, it's about, are you willing to fix it and make it work, or are you not? That's what matters.
Okay, so let's say, assuming that the 5, 10, and okay, this question is kind of dying out, but assuming that they are all equally in love still and they want to be with each other, it's just that, isn't that kind of just showing that the couple that had 20 years without it didn't need the mediator part and they were just handling their own issues?
Were they handling or were they coping?
Well, that's a good question. What was the relationship like that time?
Exactly. Was
Definitely
it 20
good
years of
point.
like, yeah, we were together, but we didn't sleep in the same
we
bed
hated
for like
each
the
other
last
whole
15?
time, yeah.
Like,
Just
you
put up
know,
with each other.
were we tolerating each other, or were we in a real relationship
Exactly.
still?
Yeah.
Do you think in general it's a good idea to have a third party, even if it's not a therapist, like mothers and fathers?
Not
and
family.
Yeah, not family at all.
Not family.
Definitely not.
Somebody completely like unrelated to the situation.
It's got to be professional, because I'll look at it as a professional point of view. Like a
Not
family
really,
member, no
not
matter who is
necessarily.
going to
Friends.
favor one side, I guess.
Friends, even?
Or if you have like a mutual friend, like I know like some people like they have friend groups where like people in a relationship are friends with just a whole group of people. If they have somebody that's indifferent, like, you know what I'm saying, it's not
Yeah.
your friend, it's not my friend.
So long as they
That
see it
type of thing.
equally, though.
Exactly.
Do they really though?
that's
just
And
have
even
to
if
be
you get a
somebody unbiased.
therapist, yesterday the dude was saying that he did go to a therapist because of his girl insisted, and the therapist was a guy, and the following therapist was a guy too, and every time the guys took his side, and then she was like, "Fuck this shit," you know.
Yeah.
So there's the who you
Well, then
relate to
what they
more
need to do
too.
is do a couples counseling.
What, there's a couple of therapists too?
No, like both of them need to go, like marriage counseling.
They were
Couples-
both
couples
there.
need to go. Oh,
They
really?
were, yeah.
They're both there.
And they favored the guy.
Okay, well maybe she's wrong.
I don't think so. I think it's just that the female perspective wasn't being seen and heard. It was the male perspective that was
From her
domineering.
opinion, right?
Well, I think like the thing with therapy too is there's not like supposed to be a side really. So like it's like I think therapy is
Yeah,
more
that's,
of like
that's what I'm
coming
saying.
to the common ground.
It's not a side.
So I think if your therapist is picking a side, you probably just need a better therapist.
Yes, definitely.
Okay, but he's saying it from a real objective point of view. He's saying she was wrong, and maybe
Well,
she
she could've
was
been.
wrong. So in therapy,
So
like,
if she is wrong and he says she's wrong, well, of course he's going to take it personal.
okay,
not
but
listen
what
to
I'm
the
saying from a broader perspective, if people are going to therapy and it's usually one-sided and somebody's wrong, right? So somebody's gonna happen to get proven wrong when you go to therapy.
Yeah.
So is that the point of therapy? Is
Well,
like
yeah.
for
If you can't identify an issue, how do you fix an issue? Once
Would you
the
guys
issue's
agree that
identified,
that's
you
the
have to
point of
agree to fix
therapy?
it. Yeah. Of
that?
course.
So someone gets the finger pointed at them.
I don't think the point of therapy is to prove who's right and who's wrong. I think the point of therapy is to come to a compromise.
But you have to identify the issue, though.
Oh yeah, you have
And
to
the
you have to
issue-
identify that
say
there
the
is an
issue's
issue.
mine,
Yeah.
And the guy says to me, "You're at fault." I'm like, "Oh, okay. Tell me how." "Okay, cool. I'm glad I know that. Now I know how to fix it." But if you don't have that willing attitude to fix it, then you got a
Absolutely.
problem. If you just go, "No,
What
I'm not
he's
the problem."
saying makes the most logical sense. Like, there's a problem in the relationship. Let's fix it and get past it. But then what you're saying is that it's kind of like sometimes that's not the best solution if we want to stick it out for the long run.
Oh,
Like,
no, I'm
there's
definitely saying that if there's a problem, a solution, that you get to the root of the problem.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is like it's not necessarily a right and wrong. He's right, she's wrong, she's right, he's wrong type thing. Therapy is more about a compromise because there are situations where both parties could be in the wrong.
Yeah, that's true. It's not always
In
or
varying
it's-
degrees, like
or it's just a feel good sesh where you go to get things nice told about you, and
nah. Well, it's not there to tickle your ears, right? You're there to
yeah, that's what I'm
make some
saying.
difference. Yeah,
you get what you pay for, I guess.
yeah, yeah. But again, it comes down to like each individual in the relationship to take on board any counsel or anything that they might advise to try or do.
What I'm trying to say is who you pick to counsel you, right? How are they qualified to counsel you? And like, because they have a degree, is that really it? Or they like really, these people are like real problem solvers that can fix our problems better than we can
So the degree should probably be where you start, and then that lets me know that you're certified, that you went to school, you at least know what you're talking about, right? And then from there,
but dude could be married like 10 times and he got divorced 10 times too, and that's
cool, but that's not my business. That has nothing to do with my situation.
Yeah, that's not necessarily a problem though.
Like his personal, like I don't.
Nah, if I look at the therapist, I'm like, I want to see if I could take good advice from somebody who gives good advice to himself and follows his own advice, right? Like a billionaire.
I definitely agree. Like I need to know that you've been successful at it. Like I apply the same things at the gym. When there's a trainer, I'm so sorry that you don't look like you train. Please don't give me advice about training because you don't apply it. You haven't proven that you know how to do it.
Even if they know how, they haven't.
Which I can read a book. I don't need you to do that for me. So the same thing when it comes to like a relationship. The person that I always turn to when I need help is someone that's older, that I know is in a successful relationship and who's obviously objective. And I've always gotten good advice. And I'm like, okay. Because even when it tells me that I'm wrong. Too. Yeah. That's why I don't necessarily think that you need to go to a professional. Go to someone that's older, that's in a successful relationship, that you can confide to, and you can get great advice from that. I mean, they've proven that they can do it.
You kind of picked out because of your judgment of like, yo, this person's been in a marriage for X amount of time, and that's your better judgment. But when you pick a therapist blind, like, it'd be cool if you could like read.
You don't have to pick a therapist blind.
Yeah, how do you read their profiles? Is it like a Tinder for therapists?
What I was saying is like you'll start off finding the degree is where you start. Okay, you're certified, you're a therapist, right? From there, you have small sessions, you have mini sessions. If you don't like somebody, you can get someone else. But you can literally sit down and talk to people before you even you can have one session with somebody and book a new the next session will never happen if you don't like them as a therapist, right? There's options to things like that. I think there's like a kind of like a stigma against therapy, which is like kind of weird because I feel like a lot of people could probably benefit from it.
Do you think if more people did therapy, there would be less divorce?
Like marriage counseling therapy?
Like, the divorce rate is,
right? I don't think there would be less divorce, but I think there would be probably like a more clear understanding of why.
I definitely think it's beneficial.
I think if it's like what he said, where it's like a preemptive thing, right? Like we're not going into this when all our fucking problems hit the ceiling and it's crashing and burning. It's like, right?
You shouldn't leave it that long, no.
Right? So it's from the beginning. So you think, okay, back to that question. Do you think there would be less divorces if people did preemptive marriage counseling?
Preemptive as in before you even having issues?
Yeah, from day one.
Well, then what do you even talk about?
I don't know. What do you talk about?
I mean, just like, I wouldn't even say like for counseling, I don't even think it's just an issues thing. It's like, how are you getting along? Or like, if there's like, those are the times when it's like the little things, the things that like you probably would disregard, but they kind of nitpick at you that will like, the stuff that will build up over time, you get that stuff out now, so then you never have anything that like builds up, so there's no like breaking point to where you snap and then like everything spills out. Like, secretly, I don't like how you leave the crumbs in the toaster either. It's like,
that's the thing, and that's why I think that there probably would be better relationships, because I think the biggest problem that relationships have falls under not communicating enough, and that's what therapy is about, is communicating.
Exactly.
And so I do think that like if you're doing that early on, it definitely helps.
Okay, so back to the question. If the dude thought that therapy was a joke and he wouldn't consider it, then you, as the partner of that person, you would tell them, okay, I could be understanding about your point of view, but there is a communication problem here. And whatever he says to that is, I mean, You can't, right? You could lead a horse to the water, but like you established, like, we need to communicate about, and the reason I'm asking to go to that is to help communicate about that.
Yeah.
If we could do the communicating on our own, we don't have to go.
But
Yeah.
obviously they can't,
Right. Okay.
But there's the problem though. Like, if one of the two is not willing to accept it, there's nothing you can do.
Exactly.
Like, where do you go from there?
You wanna talk. You wanna have those conversations. The reason you're bringing up the therapist is because you feel like you can't without
Yeah.
someone in
Yeah.
between.
And if the other person says no, I'm not doing it, well then that's that.
Means
There's
I
no
didn't want to
fixing
talk in the first place, bitch.
Yeah. You can't fix that.
Okay. Would you rather have a partnership that is 100% led by the man, or 50-50 in all regards?
As in a marriage?
Relationship.
Well,
Led. What do you mean by led?
I would quantify it as a marriage. Like, again, traditional values the man should lead. But if you're not married and you're just sort of hanging out doing your own thing, then you're just doing 50-50 each, like whatever you want to do. But if you actually lock into a marriage, you make that commitment, then the man should lead.
I'm going to give an answer that the last guy on the podcast gave, which was really good. He said that obviously me, right? But there are certain things that the woman is far superior than the man in, right? In his example, it was fashion sense. She dressed him and he looked fly, and it was better for him, right? Mm-hmm. And there was a lot of cases. I mentioned cliche examples of like cooking and cleaning. That's not what I'm talking about. There's a lot of other things that the girl could be far superior in. But when I asked the question of like 100% lead and not, that's kind of a tough question. Like you said, like, what do you mean? Like, yeah, the man should 100% lead, but then there's the neck to the head also dynamic.
Well, when you say lead, you're talking about making major decisions. Like, if I say to Jefrrel, hey, what do you think about this shirt or whatever? And she's like, nah, it's terrible, change it. That's not her taking the lead. That's just her giving me a suggestion, which I'm willing to take. But at the end of the day, if we got to make a decision about something, we talk about it, and we go, what about this or that? If we can't agree, well, then the man's still got to take the lead there and make the final decision.
I agree. I think the man has the final say on almost all matters, but there's matters that the woman just is like, it could be something that is like real technical, right? That she just has a way better know-how. Obviously, you take all the final decisions on that matter. So is the flexibility, but at the same time, the guy should step up when it's time for him to step up, and not and leave the shit that the girl is not best suited for, and then he leaves that on her plate. That's that's not taking the lead 100%. It's like you taking responsibility.
Suggestions, definitely, and I'm all for that. Like, I welcome Jefrrel's input and ideas.
Yeah,
and usually we work well together and we come to an agreement anyway. But if we can't, then I'm going to make the final decision.
But see, like, what makes us work is that when we started dating, that's something I took into consideration. I was like, I want a guy to take the lead, so I need to pick somebody that I'm okay with his choices, with the way he would lead. Mm-hmm. Because if I like people,
and he has your best interests. So
like I'm okay. Like, even if there's like a disagreement, I'm pretty sure like whatever decision he would make, I'd be okay with it, because our thinking is pretty similar in that sense. So I think where it goes wrong is a lot of people get into relationships where they're not really cool with some of the things he does, some of the choices.
Or sure that his decision will be in their best, benefit at the end of the day, right?
Yeah. So that's where you kind of clash, because then they're like, I don't like that. And they're like, so I don't know. That's how it works. Like, I'm okay with him taking the lead because it's in the same mindset as me. Like, we kind of align. Mm-hmm. Even things that we don't, like, he takes my opinion in consideration, and then he tries to compromise.
Would you say that's blind faith?
No, don't. No, because that's what dating's about. Like, hopefully when you're dating, you're finding all that stuff out. Like,
I see.
If you're not finding that stuff when you're dating, well, then it's blind faith, and well, you're gonna have some problems in the future. That's on you. You didn't take your dating seriously. You weren't looking for the red flags. You weren't seeing, the type of person that man was going to be, the husband he was going to be.
Okay, so you've gotten to the point where you trust his decision-making abilities. Now you blindly follow him because you've gotten to that point.
I spent, a whole year of
Okay.
getting to know him. That's not blind. I based, all my decisions on look at how he acted in all these situations. Like when we came across a hard situation or when he came across a time when we had difference of opinion, how did he act? Like, what did he do?
Yeah, so that's not
So
blind
it's
faith.
not
That's
blind
like,
faith. Like,
that's
that's
giving proven examples. Okay,
Yeah.
I get that. So the question started as 100% leader, 50-50, and then it kind of boils down to 100% leader for the right leader, right?
Well, yeah, if you're going to lead, you've got to do it in the right way. You don't just stamp your foot down and be like, this is it every time. But you got to show some flexibility. I appreciate her input. We always talk about things.
She
But-
sees your blind spots.
Well, I think so. I think we get each other very well.
And I think I made it really clear too, when it came to like decisions that he made. Like, I'm all for supporting him, but you got to give me like a really good reason why you're gonna go with something that I'm not for. Like, don't just say because I said so. I'm like, I told him when we were dating, if you ever tell me that, it's not gonna work. I'm not gonna do it. It don't make sense to me. Like, you really like have to tell me. So, and that's how he's done it. Like, if there's a decision where I'm not for it, you're like, look, this is why I feel this way, and I'm like, okay,
That's
valid.
That's really good advice. Like, don't ever say because that's the way it is. Like,
No, you got to give a reason. You got to
sell
expound
it.
If you're going to take the lead, you got to do it in the right way, and you got to do it in a way that she'll respect. Because if she doesn't respect you, then you got nothing. So I said at the start, respect's number one. It goes both ways.
Right.
Sometimes it's a time sensitive thing. I know, like, I have this thing. Well, me and my girl, we have this thing where it's like sometimes I'll say something and like I need you to do it like immediately, not just because like I'm being bossy, but like it's something that has to happen right
urgent,
now.
yeah.
You know, like you didn't see the danger yet,
Yeah.
so I need you to do it now, and I can explain it to you directly after. But for like right now, get out of the way.
Well,
like,
that's fine too,
that type of
because
thing.
depending on the situation,
Yeah,
like,
it's
she's got to
definitely
trust in you that
situation-based.
you're making this decision for a good reason.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But I'm saying it's never just like do it because I said do it. Like
Yeah,
I always
yeah.
have to circle back around. Like
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I need you to do it right now, but
Yeah.
like afterwards I can
Yeah, I'll
explain it to
explain
you,
it
but I
later,
couldn't
but
explain it to
it's
you in the
urgent,
moment.
Yeah, that's fair
that
enough.
type of thing.
Yeah.
That's blind faith. Then would
Well,
you
it's
blindly
not
follow
blind,
your
though, is
leader
it?
in that
Because
case?
He's already proven himself, though.
Yeah, she knows she knows that I'm vigilant to situations that she probably wouldn't be. So like if we were at like a gas station or something and something looks sketchy, I'm probably gonna peep that before she does.
Yeah.
So if I say get in the car, like let's go,
Yeah.
and she's like, well I'm trying to go and get in the car right now, let's go. We get in the
Exactly,
car,
yeah.
we pull off, and then after
Yeah.
we pull off, like hey, they were like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So again,
That type
she's
of
gonna Jefrrel's gonna say that's not blind faith because you've shown.
Yeah, it's not
Proven
blind faith, because he's proven himself to be
alertness.
trustworthy and
Exactly.
to be someone worth respect, so she will respect him. So if he says, we're going to do this right now, I'll tell you why later, then she'll do it.
And you guys are in the same camp about your girl too. Like you don't blindly follow her and trust her, and you just like she has to prove to you that you trust her.
Blindly follow her in what way?
I don't know.
First, I'm
there's
just
thing-
gonna, I'm just gonna say no because this guy is a man of questions. I have never like met or been with a guy that does not like he asks so many questions. If I said I'm gonna do that, well, why? Where are you going?
That's the
For how
Australian
long?
in me.
What are you?
Yeah.
I'm like, what? Just
Well, I need to know. They just tell me
And
something.
I
it's like,
think
why?
I
What's
can
going on?
elaborate now after hearing that on what does blind faith for a girl mean is like just trusting that you two are meant to be together, will get married, and you're on that path of getting married, and you kind of have separate lives until that happens, I guess. Because I mean that's a risk, right? You put all your eggs in one basket
Of course,
for a
there's a risk
girl.
on both sides, yeah.
You were a questioner, so it took you a while to fall in love until you kind of got over the trust part, probably
For me or for her?
for you.
Yeah, I did have to learn how to trust more. I had a problem with that. That's something I had to develop in myself, and she helped me to do that. And one thing she said is,
She helped you to do that,
She did,
so
because
she
she-
gave you reassurance.
yeah, she said to me, like, way back in the early in our relationship, it's like, I've never given you any reason to not trust me, and you haven't given me any reason either, so you got to trust me like I trust you. And I'm like, well, that's fair enough.
Right.
And she's right. She's never given me any reason not to trust her, so why wouldn't I trust her?
So that's blind trust, blind faith, right?
It's not blind because she's earned it and she's proven it.
How about you, bro?
Yeah, something similar.
Like when you were in that process of dating, filtering, figuring out you're gonna fall in love or not.
Well, that's the like that was that whole dating process. Like, well, we're feeling each other out, right? I'm like, okay, I'm taking note of little things, but like eventually it came to the point like once we actually started dating, it was like, all right, well, cool, we're dating now. I'm gonna trust that you won't do me dirt, and I'm not gonna do you dirt, right? So you have my trust until you betray it. But like, here you go. Yeah. Like, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. You've shown me, for what you've shown me so far, I can trust you to trust you, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
But yeah.
I think that this all comes back to the question, right? The 50-50 leader versus 100% leader, right? It's like a lot of trust goes into knowing if that leader is worthy of being a leader. And then with trust comes love, right? Kind of fall in love with the person to a certain extent once you know you trust them and they have your best interest at heart. Okay, so that question, we finished that question. What is moving too fast, and how soon is too soon to be engaged?
Moving too fast is ignoring red flags, like you said at the start.
Okay.
You always know red flags. It's not like you don't see it. It's whether or not
you know it. Right and wrong, right?
You feel a red flag.
Yeah.
Like you see it and you feel it, like something's off. If you choose to ignore it, that's going too fast.
That's
you got to address it as it comes up immediately.
That was an amazing explanation, actually. I like that one a lot.
Too soon is going so fast that you're kind of like missing the red flags, like as if you're racing in a car.
You're running red lights.
You're running red lights. You see the red lights, but you're just like you're going too fast.
Yeah,
so that's going too fast.
You feel it. You feel it inside you that something's off, and if you go, "No, I'll be right," it won't be. It's a problem, and it's always going to come back and bite you. You need to fix it, and if you don't, you're going too quick.
Okay, so that was the first.
Also, within like a couple months, like I think getting engaged within a couple months, that you're crazy, out of your mind. That happens all the time too, and I'm like, what?
It's not enough time to get to know anybody.
No.
What about 7 months?
No.
I always say I give it like a year. You need to know that person for a year.
Sometimes,
and that's if you're actually like.
That was the bare minimum answer yesterday.
Engaged, you mean, or what,
before you get engaged, you need to be dating that person a year, and a year is the minimum. If you're actually like vigilant, you're making. You're doing all the right questions. You're putting them all the right situations.
But I feel like even then, it kind of is. It's gonna really depend on that dating phase. Because like I was in the military, so I saw a bunch of guys who've been dating this girl since they were 16 or whatever. They flown them out to California to get married, and it fell apart immediately. Yeah. Or people who have been like they were together, they were married in whatever state they were at before, and then he came out here, and then as soon as she came out here, it fell apart. Like it's weird. Long relationships, like. It's really, it depends on the person.
So wait. You're saying that a short relationship could be just as good as a long relationship. But
it depends on the person.
It depends. You're saying year minimum.
I agree with what he's saying. I'm just saying if you're counting like what's the bare minimum, I'm like minimum, it better be a year, and that's a year. That's only for those that are like seriously. Making sure they're asking all the right questions, they're meeting all the right people, they're putting themselves in all the right situations, like they're ready for marriage.
Bare minimum.
Like, yeah. Because obviously if you're not doing that, if you're just kind of casually courting for a year, then you need more than a year. Yeah. Because you haven't been with that mentality like, oh, I'm going to marry this person.
That's hardcore dating right there.
Yeah.
Hey, if you're going to do that within a year, then go for it. Because you know, and she knows that she has like, that mentality that, we want to get married within a year. Mm-hmm. But, a lot of people are like that. So you shouldn't be doing it then.
Like, that's a big commitment to make. You got to make sure you do it right.
Yeah, in a year, it's crazy.
Yesterday we talked about like how soon, how quickly do you know that you've kind of not fallen in love, but you've fallen in the path of like, oh yeah, I might fuck with this person long term. And then we said it was within the first month, right? But then it takes another 11 months of going on dates, maybe light travel, spending days at a time with each other to see what your living situations would be like. All those like rocky ups and downs of the other 11 months of like figuring out part, not the, I know I really love this person, but like, so that was the bare minimum. Like we kind of all agreed. 11 months and 29 days is not long enough, and 12 months is barely long enough. And then if you want to be like even more, safe, 2-3 years, right, to get engaged.
That's too long.
You think it's too long? And we
There's
joked.
a point where you reach a point where you know. Once you get to that point, you make your decision.
Well,
and if you know that it's a good thing and you want to do it, but you don't, then you got no commitment.
We joked about people who were engaged for a long time, and that was a stigma on that. Like, you've been engaged for 3 years? What?
Why? Are they afraid to take the step? And if so, then what are they doing?
So there's a whole starting the relationship, right? And then getting engaged part, and then staying engaged, and then getting married. So like, we're saying to get engaged, 12 months minimum, right? That's the agreement here across the board. That's the bare minimum.
For engagement, yeah.
And then to be engaged, what would you guys say now? Another
6 months?
Well, see, after
6
being
months?
engaged,
Yeah, I think so
there's
too.
factors with that too. Like some people are engaged, but they haven't
I
got
agree
married
with
because their
him
credit.
though. 6 months.
6 months?
Because it's like you made the decision to get married with the engagement, and the engagement shouldn't pan out forever. Like maybe 12 months at the most.
That's just
So
a
you
matter
gotta
of
think
planning
about
now.
people are paying for like super expensive weddings. They're trying to invite everybody. They got to send invites
That's
to
true.
people all across.
Very
So
true.
it takes time for planning, right?
How much
so I would
time
say,
though? How much time?
I would say if you're gonna do if we're doing like bare minimum, the year for the engagement, a year for the wedding, right?
Right.
Give it a
That's
year,
fair.
stack your bread up, and then that next year you can go ahead and dish that out.
Would
right?
you agree? Year and a year?
If it's gonna be bare minimum,
Bare minimum.
yeah, a year and a year at least.
Okay, so I was engaged for 6 months. And that's the bare minimum because you cannot plan a wedding as simple as we did it any less than 6 months.
Okay, that's fair.
A comfortable time is a year because that's usually what they recommend to be able to plan a wedding that the average person would want is a year in advance. I don't see why you should have it more than that. To be honest, you can have a really nice wedding and plan it within a year. You shouldn't be going broke over this thing. Like, if you should spend your money on, saving for a house, or going on a nice trip together. But for a day, like, I just don't see why you're breaking the bank.
And then, again, like it's all up to preference.
Yeah.
Some people like are engaged, don't get married because their credit's not right. You know what I'm saying? It's contracts and stuff with it. People have
So you're saying if people are waiting that long to get engaged, it's not out of choice, it's out of necessity, usually
sometimes
financially.
it's not out of choice. Sometimes it's out of necessity.
And you're saying like, yo, fucking just do the damn thing. You don't have to have this extravagant thing. Just do what's in your means.
Yeah, like, I mean, I don't know. I feel like a lot of people make it about like the day and how extravagant it's going to be. And I'm like, no, it's about the person. Like, it's a special day that you want to share with your family. You don't have to break the bank for that. Like,
Yeah. It doesn't
there's
have to
so
be
many more
too
important
expensive.
things
Like,
than
you
that
can still
day.
do it nicely. Yeah, you don't have to spend $1 million to have a nice wedding. But I think
I'm
it's
sure that's what every girl wants to be told. Though, no, sorry, our wedding's not going to be $1 million. It's going to be, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I think you guys are all making logical sense. Girls have different expectation though. Probably they're like, oh, it has to be
They will
decent
have
size,
different
and
expectation, but again, that's something you got to figure out between the two of you of what that expectation is going to be.
like she should have figured that out about him before saying yes to his answer.
Yeah, that's
you know,
the sort of stuff you would have discussed. It's like, what do you got in mind?
yeah. You want to get married? Sure. Are you ready for the wedding though?
Yeah.
Yeah, intuitively, that
I
all
think,
just
like, to my point of view, it's just, if you make that commitment to each other, why drag it out? Why like, oh, let's wait 2-3 years? Well, then you're not interested. I wouldn't wait that long. If she had said to me, I'll wait 3 years, I'm like, nah, not gonna happen.
yeah. It's like, where's your priorities at? Kind of.
It's like, do you want to marry me or not? Like, why are you putting 3 years on it? It wouldn't work, so I wouldn't have done it.
Or maybe that's something you should really think about before you even start dating someone. Is like, hey, if I really do want a ginormous wedding, then maybe you should have started saving before.
Yeah.
I don't know. So that way you're kind of like planning, like, oh, that way when I finally do get, asked the question, I'm ready. I have the finances for that wedding that I really want, and we don't have to wait 2 to 5 years to make it happen.
A decent sized wedding, would you guys say it's fair? Is just like a 50 grand wedding? Like that's more than enough? A decent sized wedding,
Yeah, a lot for 50 grand, yeah.
right? Okay.
Like
So
we
that-
want helicopters and doves and all that kind of gear.
If so,
Yeah.
if the dude is ready to actually ask a girl to get married, he should at least have 50K in the bank to just, do the wedding sooner than later and not drag it out. That's kind of on the guy then. It's not. It's
that's
never really on the girl.
Traditionally,
always on the
like
guy.
a dowry or something like that. But I guess people don't do that thing anymore. So,
Some people do, depending on culture.
Yeah.
Like I knew some people in Australia that still do that.
oh, okay.
Yeah, but it's depending on culture, like I say.
But it's a Middle Eastern thing too. But I was born here, so I have no clue about it. So you're right.
Yeah,
if
but
people
it's
still
like
do that, I don't
sometimes
even
it's
know
a thing
either.
in the South, kinda, but not really. But then it just really depends on region preference.
yeah,
I think New Age is like dudes paying for that shit,
Oh, yeah.
not dudes' parents or dude, in-laws, right? Like dude is usually
it's,
paying
it's
for
on
it.
the guy. Yeah,
Yeah.
At least this day and age, anyway.
In
back,
2024, yeah.
yeah, maybe back in the old days it was a little different, but these days it's pretty much on the guy.
Okay, here's a question for you guys: would you die for your lover?
Lover?
Your how else can I say that? Husband, wife.
Oh, we got here.
There's a difference. Lover? I don't
Sorry,
know.
how should I say that? Spouse.
Okay,
Spouse,
there's a difference.
You're not married, so I can't use that word yet.
just saying,
but
but-
that's
But
like your
for your
like-
person, maybe is a better
okay.
word. Because
When-
lover,
person-
there's not much
When
intimacy
we get
in there.
married, like when that becomes my spouse, absolutely.
person. Okay, would you die for your person?
Yeah.
Well, of course you would. You put them.
I
before
love
you.
how quickly you guys just answered that. The people yesterday, they were having a hard time with that. Like,
I don't know.
I won't die for nobody. Like,
Really?
yeah, and you
So
guys
cool.
answered it so like seamlessly at the same time. Yes, of course,
Yeah.
and that's really nice to hear.
Or I mean, even if she wasn't my spouse, like if we had a baby tomorrow, then absolutely still same answer.
Yeah, yeah.
Like that's my family now.
Yeah.
You're
Exactly, 'cause
you're
you wanna protect
protecting,
them
you
at
know,
any
like
cost.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Like-
if that means your life, then that's what you do.
So self-preservation is the
My
most
insurance is lit
important.
right now,
Yeah.
dog. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Yeah.
Self-preservation is the most important thing. Like you should protect yourself before protecting anyone else. But that person or persons, if you have a kid, they're an extension of you, right? So it is kind of like they're hurting or killing an extension of you. So that's why,
Well, that's your
We have that-
responsibility as a man to do that.
right?
I mean, but I would say that about my family, like, or the people I consider, because I don't think that like family is necessarily people that through your bloodline or anything. I think that you make your family.
In this regard, we're talking about your immediate family. So you, him, and a kid.
Yeah, without a doubt. But again, I would even say that about people that I consider my family. Like I would die for them because I think that the word family, that's a big thing.
I do think the sacrifice plays into the self-preservation too, like because you're doing like all the fighting that you can do for that whole unit. I think that is self-preservation. Like you consider yourself all this as one. So like
That's
if you
kinda
have
what I
to
was
go
trying to
for them,
say.
Yeah, so I feel like that just it all ties together at the end. Like that is self-preservation. You sacrificing yourself for your family.
Like, okay, I'll say it in these terms. Have you guys seen the movie Apocalypto?
No,
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god,
think so,
best
yeah.
movie I've ever seen in my whole life. You guys have to watch
that's
it.
the Mel Gibson one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my god,
I
he
heard it's
did a
pretty
great
intense.
job.
I didn't see it, but I heard it's pretty intense.
Yeah, it's so
wild.
good. So it paints the picture of like tribes getting ravaged, right? And the main character, he's able to get away, and he's able to slip his wife and his baby down this like well whatever, like
Yeah.
ditch or whatever, with like some rope, and then he protected them, and then he went and got back to the ravaging from the other tribes, and his whole fucking tribe getting murked. And then so him protecting the wife and kid was a chance for him to pass his DNA on, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So it was self-preservation,
Yeah.
not his, you guys get what I'm saying. So it's
Yeah.
still
That's
self-preservation.
Yeah.
That's like
So he's doing it for himself, dying for his family. He's essentially doing it for himself, but at the same time, he's, they're an
Well, he's
extension
doing it
of
for
him.
himself. He's doing it for them equally.
Yeah.
Because I get what you're saying. Like that's his bloodline. He's got to protect his bloodline. So
Like
It's
you
for
guys
him and it's for
saying,
them.
you'll die, right, for your person. You're really saying that, like, I would, yeah, I'm not gonna elaborate, but it's just kind of like that person is an extension of me, and if they live on, then I live on.
Mm. Of course, yeah.
So, okay, next question. All right, what is love? If you had to
Baby,
describe
don't
it,
hurt me. Don't hurt me.
yeah, except
What
for
is love?
except for that song.
Yeah. I would say it's when you have full trust and commitment to somebody.
Full trust and commitment to somebody. Okay, like let's try to categorize it in three things.
Well,
Anyone else? What is love? Full trust in somebody.
I don't think I have words for. Like I know it, but I can't. I don't think I could. I don't think I could put it into.
I'm gonna let you answer, and then I want to tell you guys yesterday what they said.
It's a big. It's kind of hard to describe briefly, just because there's a lot to it. I do believe that a lot of people today don't really understand like the weight of the word. They use it very loosely. But yeah, I think
So it's something deep and meaningful.
yeah, and again, like what kind of love are you referring to? Because there's
romantic love, not
romantic love. Okay. Yeah, when you love someone, it means you put their interests ahead of your own. That's love to me. It's
Okay.
putting their interests ahead of your own.
Okay, that's fair. Yesterday, there was two arguments, and what you said was the latter argument is that you put their interest before your own, and the primary argument was that it's just a chemical reaction to desiring and obsession with somebody.
yeah.
And
I was
that
just
makes
trying to
total
explain it
sense.
scientifically, but it's more than that, isn't it?
No, it makes total sense, but there's like two sides of the coin, right? Is it that burning obsession? The rain's getting heavy, huh?
Yeah, I'm starting to feel like
You want to close it? Yeah.
Can I? Yeah.
Just
fine.
just kind of push kind of hard.
Cool.
So yeah, there's two sides to that coin. Is like there's that burning obsession for somebody or something or whatever, and you're just like so into it, infatuated, and like always want to be, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then there's I just want the well-being for that over my own well-being. Then there's like the opposite. So that's kind of what we all talked about. And then I know we all gave different answers right now, but yeah, that kind of sums it up, right? And anything else to add to that?
Well, I think that's kind of simplifying it. Like, why do you have to break it down to science like that?
Yeah, it's like the mechanics of it. Like
I don't know.
It's,
Just because we're
everyone
talking
knows
about
what
it.
love is, or they should. Yeah.
They
It's
should.
a
I
feeling,
don't
and
think
it's a
everyone
feeling
knows
that-
what
No,
it is.
no,
because-
because okay, the answer that you gave, right, to the dude that gave the opposite answer, that it's just a chemical obsession, he's fully convinced that that's what love is, and he doesn't have any concern about what you just said.
And does he ever love somebody himself?
Yeah, he's in a really happy relationship right now.
That's what he thinks of his wife.
I'm sure that's an exaggeration, but I don't know. That's his answer. He said
Like,
that's what drove
Jefrrel,
him.
You just balance the chemicals in my mind. Yeah.
That's so romantic.
Yeah, I know.
And so, like,
Maybe that's
does
attraction.
does he believe that can happen to more than one person?
I don't know. Maybe we should have him on again and we all talk about it.
Because
Yeah.
if it's just a chemical, what's to stop that chemical reaction from happening to somebody else?
Exactly. What keeps that chemical reaction focused on one person only?
Well, the way he made it sound was more romantic. Like it was that one
Did
person
he?
that he had the
Really?
obsession with, right? It wasn't like the obsession of like the sexual act in general. It was like, I have an obsession with this one person.
So the chemical only happens.
That's
with that
true.
one
But
person.
then what?
I don't know.
It's more than that. Like, what makes that chemical reaction, and what does it produce? Yeah, it's chemical reaction. What does it produce? Though, it produces something.
A pull. That's what
What
it
it produces
produces.
is love, right?
Like a pull, like a
Hopefully.
magnet.
To only one person and not multiple people.
I don't know, but if you think about it as a whole, like people link up because of this imaginary pool that you have, right? And that's like an attractive field that a man has toward a woman and a woman has toward a man. So he's just explain it from that sense.
But that's a little different because I could be attracted to multiple people. I'm only gonna love.
Yeah, that's
One.
a different thing. Attraction, love's two totally
Yeah,
different things.
attraction and love are two different things.
I guess,
There's a
but-
lot of attractive
but
people
his-
out there. I
his-
was like, wow, that's
His definition of
attractive.
love was like so
gonna-
obsessed that you just go all the way and keep chasing that obsession.
That's
I don't
more
know.
like infatuation. Like
I guess
yeah,
it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So okay, so love you would say is more of a selfless act
Yeah.
Yeah, very much.
rather than a selfish desire.
Yeah, because again, infatuation, obsession, that's all on you. Like that's you wanting to satisfy yourself because you're craving something.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But love is the opposite. You're not trying to satisfy yourself, you're trying to look for their interest.
So
And that makes you happy. That fulfills you, is putting their interest ahead of your own.
so love is a selfless thing.
Yeah, it's a selfless thing. Like you said about obsession, that's not a good thing. You don't want to be obsessed with somebody. That's unhealthy. And that's usually a one-way street. Like a guy's obsessed with a girl and she wants nothing to do with him, but he's obsessed with her.
Not to get all religious, but like God was obsessed with his creations.
Obsessed in what way?
Like, oh, what a beautiful creation I made.
That's not
That's
obsession.
obsession.
That's not obsession.
Obsession isn't really a good thing.
No,
You
I
shouldn't be
think
obsessed
I
with
think you're
something.
wrong. I think obsession could be a good
you
thing.
want a girl obsessed with you?
You wouldn't want that.
So
The only good obsession I know is made by Calvin Klein.
I don't have anyone agreeing with me right now, but I think I could see his point of view of being so obsessed with somebody and then being so obsessed with you, and that could be what their definition of love would be.
Well, you think of a guy, like they've made movies like this where a guy's obsessed with a chick and just stalks her and won't leave her alone, freaks her out.
Yeah, I don't
Like
think they've ever
he's-
made.
In his mind, he loves her. He's doing this, oh, I need you, you need me back. But she doesn't want him. He's obsessed. It's not normal, it's not good.
I don't think
It
I would
never
want
ends
anybody to
well.
be obsessed with me.
No, you wouldn't.
What if
Yeah,
it's a
like-
two-way street though?
Well, that's not healthy either.
I don't-
Obsessed with each other?
Man,
You feel bad for them?
Unhealthy.
Feel bad
that's
for
a
that.
recipe for disaster right
Yeah,
there.
it is. That's not good.
All right, we're gonna have to cut this question because
It's like season 3 of You.
Yeah, I didn't. Wasn't that a season where they were both
Yeah, they
obsessed
were
with
both
each
obsessed, they
other?
were- yeah.
And I don't think it ended well. Either.
Not at all.
we'll take that as evidence then. To you, what is a high value woman and what is a high value man?
Well, I'll answer the woman one, not the man one, I guess. Well, I could do both. I think a high value man is someone that knows who he is and knows how to provide for his wife or his significant other in every way.
Well, what
Gotta
you
be a man,
described
right?
right now, sir, is a provider, a resourceful provider, right?
It's not just resources. It's emotional support, physical support, someone that's strong that can handle life for yourself and for her.
So, the emotional, intelligent,
Yeah, you got to be all those
emotional,
things.
intelligent,
You have to have all
mature, and resourceful is what
If you're
a
high value, you
man
have
is.
that in every regard, right? You're good in every respect. That's something you have to develop with time.
You just described two things. You said he's emotionally intelligent and mature. That's one. And two is he's a provider. And I'm thinking like fiscally.
Well, that's true. My belief is that in this world, I have no problem with the woman working. Like, I'm not one of those guys that says, no, I've got to work and you to stay home and do the house stuff.
We're just saying
But-
a high value man. So a high value man in general would be a dude that could provide and a dude that he can be
He's gotta work hard.
emotionally.
He's got to be a hard worker. He's got to be driven and determined. But he's also got to be emotionally and physically strong to provide and protect for her physically and emotionally, and just be there in every respect. Because if you're going to be the head and the leader, then you've got to be able to handle that.
I'm still only hearing you say two things though. Two things is he's got the money down, the ambition and everything is like, that's a give or take, right? Because he could have already made it or whatever. But the money, he's got to have that down. He just
I'd
has
say
to
more
be
driven. Driven can apply to everything. It's not just about, I've got to make $1 million this week. You're going to be at the gym.
So, I mean, provider though, I think provider trumps a driven guy. So he's definitely a provider. One way or another, he's definitely that. And then the emotional support, those two things makes a high value man. Would you guys agree? Is that what he's saying? Those two things make a high value man?
I don't know if that's really what I'm getting at. What I'm saying is you have to be balanced. You have to be well-rounded, which is something that you learn with time. I don't think you can have that as a young guy. You don't. You have to
So-
develop that with age and experience.
So he's developed that emotional balance and security, but however he developed it, he's got it.
It's like I was saying earlier with trust. Like I had an issue myself with trust up until we got together. I've fixed that. But that was a imperfection in me. You can't be a high value guy and not be able to trust her if she's proven to be trustworthy. So you've got to have a well-rounded personality to be able to be dependent on by her.
A seasoned guy who's been through experiences that's formed him into an intelligent, emotionally intelligent person. So he's got the emotional intelligence. He's a provider. Let's switch to women now. So what's a high value woman then?
That would be definitely someone that's worthy of your trust, that's earned it.
Loyalty? Is that what you're saying?
I guess you call it that. I call it trust. I don't use the word loyalty. I use the word trust. Like to me, trust and respect. Respect number one. If she's going to respect me as the person that I am, respect me as a head, respect me as a man, a person, that is a big thing. They need that. And if they don't, it's not going to work. But trust as well. I need to have trust in her. But she's got to be able to deliver on that trust. Like
Trust,
if she goes
okay.
out with her friends and I've got to trust that she's not going to do anything that I won't like.
Okay. Trust in her ability to see you as the head, and you wouldn't want to do anything to disappoint the head of the household, right?
Yeah.
So trust in to see you as the head and authority. That's kind of what you're saying.
Trust that she's not going to do anything to disrespect me, which means something that I won't like. If she does something I don't like, that's disrespecting me. That's a problem.
Because we can't just say trust. That doesn't really define it as
Well,
well. We're saying trust.
I can simplify it. I trust her. She's not going to go out and bang some dude.
That's loyalty and monogamy though. That's a different
Loyalty,
type
trust,
of.
same thing.
Yeah, but it's not the same thing. It's like,
Do you trust her that she'll be faithful no matter what happens?
okay, there's a difference between you taking your girl out to a client's meeting where they're bringing their wives, right?
Mm-hmm.
And for her not to embarrass you in front of the other, people that you're trying to do this $100 million deal with. So like you trust her in that regard. That's a different type of trust than,
That's a different type of trust.
like banging some other dude.
When I say trust, it goes kind of. You could put that anyway. Like
That's
I trust
too
her.
broad. That's way too broad of a term. We had to like really narrow that down.
I don't know if it is. It's the way I see it. Like I know that if she goes out with friends and dudes buy her drinks and this and that and they try hitting on her, she's not going to acknowledge them. I trust that. She's proven that, she's earned that. But at the same time, if she broke that trust, then she's no longer high value.
Okay, let's say it like this then. Trust to keep the same frame that you guys have established with each other, right?
Yeah, I guess, yeah.
So trust, consistency, I guess that's how I'd say that, right? Trust, consistency. So
I guess.
and I do agree, right? So like every man, he wants to trust that his girl is gonna be following the frame that he set.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Something like that, right?
Well, you want to,
I
if your girl's
could word
going
it
out.
differently, but yeah.
Yeah, but you know what I'm saying, right?
Yeah, I definitely get. Yeah,
Yeah.
I definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's like that trust is that peace of mind, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not sitting at home worried about like what my girlfriend's doing.
Exactly.
And the fact that I'm not that's not occupying all my brain space means I can go out and do other things that'll benefit our relationship.
Exactly, because you trust
Be
her.
it me making money, be it me learning about myself, whatever the hell I can do with my time to make, you know what I'm saying, to improve upon what we got going on.
And every guy is gonna be different. Like one guy is gonna be this like dude that's always working, right? And then the other guy is gonna be this dude that wants to be a family man and spend a lot of time at the house. So like whatever frame that guy set, you're saying I could trust and be at peace of mind that this frame is gonna be.
Yeah. Well, that's the frame.
It's
you
kind
built
of
from
hard
day
to
one,
define
right?
though. It's like trusting to keep the frame, right? How would you say it? What we're trying to describe. If you were trying to read a man's mind and what we value trust that you'll keep the frame that we set. How would you say that?
I think it still falls under just being able to trust her. Trust in any regard. Like, I don't think there's any avenue or any avenue of trust that you're like, well, no, that doesn't, like, no, trust, yeah, it's very broad, but that's the point. Like, every avenue of it, like, a guy wants to be able to use that word towards her.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
You know?
So you're saying trust in all regards is the highest priority for a woman of value.
Yeah,
for a
because it's
man
not
that
just
sees-
I trust that she won't do this specific thing or this specific thing. I trust her in general. I'm not going to break down every possible imaginable scenario that I need to trust her in. I'm just like, I trust you. You're going out with your friends. I know that you're not going to do anything.
But that's so tough because like we could say that about that's what a high value man is too. Like that's like I feel like there's something else that comes before that.
Well, there's more involved than that. That's just one aspect. Trust. That's not everything.
Yeah. I think for me, high value, it'd be humility, a humble man, a reasonable man. That's high value for me. Because ultimately I'm going to be with an imperfect person, who also is striving to be the head, an imperfect head, so to speak. So knowing that he's going to be reasonable in any situation is really important for me to be able to like fall under that line that he wants me to follow as being supportive. And humble is super important for me because again, if he's playing that lead role, he's imperfect, he's gonna make mistakes. So for him to be able to say like, yeah, I messed up, my bad, that's super important. Because that's all really, I don't expect him to be perfect, but I expect him to be like, my bad, so we can move forward. Those two are big for me.
So like kind of like being a team player and then two, a leader. Like you want your man to lead you.
Yeah, of course I want him to be. I know I think that's the role that they're meant to play, is to be that leader. But if you're not, again, you're going to be imperfect, so you're bound to make mistakes. Like if you can't admit to messing up, how am I supposed to support you in that? Like how are we supposed to move forward from this? Like I can't tell you like, oh, you're right, when I know you messed up. Like you messed up. Like I need you to accept that so we can just move forward.
I don't know why I just like thought of basketball. Like being a good boyfriend is like, or husband is like being a good point guard. Like I don't know why I just thought of that.
You gotta facilitate.
Yeah, you gotta like lead all the time, but then when you fuck up, you gotta acknowledge you fucked up, and then you gotta like acknowledge everyone else's weaknesses and strengths. And so okay.
That's part of learning though, right? Like developing as a man. So I say it takes time to develop that. You learn that with age.
Yeah.
And that's how you learn.
But not just age, with experience.
Well, same thing, age and experience. If you
could be 80 years old and not have seen as much as a 30-year-old man.
Maybe, but again, whatever experience you go through, you should reflect on that and learn from it.
Right.
And if you don't do that, it's like, oh, this bad thing happened, whatever, move on. If you don't think about it and learn from it, you haven't learned anything. So you're not going to develop.
Yeah. Okay, I need to ask another question because we got a couple more and then we got probably 20 more minutes on the clock. How much does your partner's parents influence your decision to tie the knot?
Not at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At all, really.
No.
Yeah, none.
Wait, say it again.
How much does your partner's parents influence your decision to tie the knot?
Oh, yeah, no, not at all. But of course, if he has like, if that's big on him, then we got a little problem. Like, why is your parents influencing so much this decision?
Yeah. I never get that thing where the girl's like, oh, can I marry if my dad approves it? Like,
Yeah.
Make your
We
own
brought that
decision.
up yesterday. Okay, so asking for the father's approval. How do you guys feel about that?
It's a good thing to get his thoughts.
His
But it's your
blessings, but
decision.
not his approval.
You don't need his blessing.
Yeah, I don't think you need it, but I think like
Are you
it's like a formality type thing because like I know like my future father, I know he wants me to marry his daughter. I'm gonna ask anyway, just because like that's the thing that you do. You know what I'm saying?
What
like
if he says no?
I'm still gonna marry her, but it's like I just gave you the opportunity to do
Yeah,
the thing. You know, like it's traditional.
You're
So-
forgetting what I said to you when you wanted to date me, and that
I'm not
was
forgetting that.
okay. Well,
Yeah, let's acknowledge it now then.
That was on her though. Like
It
what I'm
was on
saying
me.
is, to me,
It was.
if your mother opposed it, I still would have married you because it's your and my decision.
Oh, okay. But when we started dating, I said, because I don't have a dad
Oh yeah.
in my life, but I have someone that has acted as my father, and I trust him, and I see him as a father.
Right.
So I had already made like some pretty bad decisions in life where I didn't really trust my decisions all that well. So I was like, look, if he says that it's okay to date you, then I'm gonna trust him. Like, I trust him seeing outside the bubble to be like, all right, I think he's a good guy. You should give him a shot. If he says no, I'm out. I'm just gonna trust that he knows better than I do, and I'm just gonna be like, yeah.
And how did he take it initially? Like,
He actually took it pretty well because he went behind my back and met up with him.
Yeah, I had not met him before, but
Yeah.
I had his phone number though.
So, yeah, they went and they had a talk, and after that talk, my dad called me and was like, "I think you should give him a shot." I was like, "Oh, okay, that's interesting. All right, maybe it's something I should look into." No, I didn't. I was like, I don't know. I didn't trust myself. I was like, you don't really know someone until you start dating them more often. So I was just like, I don't, maybe what I'm seeing, I'm just like, infatuated because I like, how he looks and think he's cute and stuff. But I don't know, whatever you told him, because I still don't know what happened in that conversation. But whatever you told him must have struck something, because he was like, I think he's a good guy. You should date him.
There you go.
That's really cool that you didn't trust yourself and you were like, look, I'm just gonna put this gate, this like barrier in between, right? And you just hopped over it like it was only 3 feet tall.
Well, I had to, if that's what I had to do.
Yeah, you had to. If that's what I gotta do, that's what I gotta do.
At that point, like, I was sure on her. Like, I knew what we had and I knew who she was.
Yeah.
So I'm like, yeah, this is what I want. So if that's what I have to do, then that's what I have to do.
Okay, I love that answer. I love this whole line of thought. What was the question again? Shit, it was
blessing.
Yeah. How much does your partner's parents influence your decision to tie the knot?
Yeah, no, none at all. But I do feel like while you're dating, you should probably like get to know your in-laws, see if you like them or not, and then like that way you'll be able to make a decision like way before it even comes to it.
But you're with that traditionally imposed like asking for the blessing thing.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm doing it just to do it. It doesn't matter what his answer is.
We're in 2024. Like, for that shit almost doesn't even almost exist anymore for us. But you're still going by those rules.
I mean, like I said, is it necessarily a rule of how I was going to do what I was going to do anyway? I'm doing it to be like nice. Really, it's a formality type thing.
Yeah.
Kind of defeats the purpose though, because she said if he says no, it's gonna be a no. So what if they really say no, and then the girl like starts to get to thinking like, oh,
we've already had this discussion. Like, we know
it's a little different, I think, because when I did it, it wasn't like we are about to get engaged. It's more like, hey, I need his approval to just kind of know if I'm gonna
it's when we're
start dating.
To get serious. Like, we weren't engaged or anything, but
we were just friends, and he's like, hey, I want to date you. I was just like, you know what?
You got to talk in the mic.
Yeah, I wanted to pursue her. Like, that's the point we're at. We had met, we were talking and this and that, but I had got to know her enough to know, I'm
okay, 1 second. So you met the dad already?
Yeah, I'm going over there right after this.
So he already knew that you were going to pursue her way back when you guys first started dating. So that was kind of like the approval.
So at first he knew of me, but he was like, all right, like he never made any like real effort to meet me or anything. But then after a while, he was like, oh shit, this guy's still here. He's like, okay, now I have to meet him. Like, cause
so have you met him yet?
Yeah, I've met him several times. Like, I'm going over there right after this. Like,
that approval process still happened though, sorta.
I mean, kinda. So it was just, I think what it is, he trusted her to make a good decision because of how he raised her.
Okay, how about when you have a daughter, right? How are you gonna want them to do what Jefrrel did?
Well, if I had a daughter with her, I would definitely want to know who she's hanging out with, and I would give her my.
Jefrrel specifically said he needs to give approval. Would you make your daughter do that?
Approval, maybe. Like, I would want to know who the guy is, know what he's about. I would spend time with him. And if I like him, I'd be like, yeah, he's a good guy. If I didn't, I'd be like, no, he's no good. And I would encourage her to break it off.
Okay, but my question though is that would you put it in your hands to make that final decision, or in her hands to make that final decision? Yeah,
it's her decision.
It's
Yeah.
being hurt. But I would,
Yeah.
I'd give like,
yeah,
I would
I
give
think
advice.
approach is really
Yeah.
the way you approach it is really important. I would definitely want her to do what I did, but I would explain like why. You know, I'd be like, look, a lot of times when you meet someone, there's a lot of emotions, you know, that you have to work through, and it's so easy to just kind of look over the red flags because you start off with infatuation. You're like, I really like him. He looks cute. You know, he treats me nice, and da-da-da. So by having someone outside of the box that cares about you put an input, it's only for your benefit. If someone like outside of that box that loves you says, "Hey, you know what? I don't think this is the right person," or this, I get this really bad vibe. You would want them to know that, like, they can't see it.
So I like how you're saying it. You would be real patiently describing to her why we're doing this, not just saying like this
Yeah.
is the way it is. Like how you kind of explain too. Like you don't like saying just because I said so.
Exactly.
Yeah, you gotta give a reason. Like,
Yeah, if you know, you just tell like I have to approve, and if I say no, that's it. Like that's not. I'm pretty
just
sure
gotta
that's
go
not going to
against
work.
that. If you told your
It
kid that,
definitely
that
wouldn't have
was-
worked with me.
And
Like,
So
Yeah.
your reasoning is pretty much like, look, we know you have good decisions and you can be intelligent enough to pick your own person, but this is just one extra layer of like a speed
something to be
bump,
aware of,
you
yeah.
know, that
from our point of view is what
yeah,
we
just
see.
from our point of view. And if she's a reasonable girl and respects her family, then she's gonna
Which she would
want
be.
to,
Yeah.
right?
It even plays back into what you were talking about earlier, right? With that like 100% man led. So now like this man, she's been under his protection, his care her whole entire life. Now like you two making that link up is like it's almost like a transfer of custody.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I need
Right.
to see if
I love
you're
that.
gonna be able to
Exactly
do
right,
my
That's what
job.
happens
I
at
love that,
weddings,
yeah.
right? Like you
Yeah.
walk the
That's basically
Yeah,
what
like
happened
this. She's been my responsibility this whole entire time. Like I made sure she was alive.
Yeah.
I made her into the person that she is
Exactly.
now. Are you going to be able to continue this? Can you maintain? If you can't maintain, then I'm not going to recommend you
Yeah.
to be the guy.
Exactly.
yeah,
Yeah.
I love
That's
that.
more of the
Yeah.
situation of it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
so then a guy should do that every time.
I mean,
It's like kind of saying like, yo, I'm taking
it's
her off your hands.
ideal, but like
Yeah, you gotta
Yeah.
give your input. Yeah.
yeah.
Give your advice. Yeah.
Okay, let's see. I got another question. Would you ever cut off your in-laws for any reason? What would those reasons be?
If they did something to my child, or if they stole from me, don't steal from me, and don't do anything weird to my child. Like if I tell you don't like my kid has allergy to blueberries, don't make blueberry muffins, like stuff like that. Don't put
Yeah.
my child in danger, and don't steal from me.
Okay, that's super fair.
Yeah,
you'd
it has to
have
be
to
something
be-
serious, right?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
you'd have to be pretty toxic, to our family. You know, whether there's a child or whether there's not, you'd have to be pretty toxic. And I'd hope that it wouldn't be permanent. I'd hope like that we could, you know, maybe just like let's give ourselves some space because you're kind of bringing in some toxic
But
things
what
into
if-
our relationship.
Don't abuse my spouse.
No,
Like,
but what
I
if
know
it's
your daughter? But
Yeah.
don't verbally abuse her to like where she's having a bad day
Of course,
and
yeah.
like she can't function. in the
Yeah, or
house
you're
because of-
causing arguments
Yeah.
between us. You know, there's issues where like there doesn't need to be. Then I'd be like, you know, let's just create. Maybe not cut them off, especially if you know there's, you know, you're really that one spouse or is really close to them. Like, let's just create some space
Mhm.
so we can get back to a good place, and then maybe you know start allowing it little by little. See how that goes.
so you're saying as soon as there's any kind of toxicness, just create distance, and depending on how toxic it is, then you either keep that distance or you
Well,
cut
not
off.
any kind. You can have a conversation. You can be like, hey, like you can set a boundary. Like, hey, you know what I'm saying? You did this. We didn't really like it. We'd appreciate it if you didn't do that again. But if you can't, like, you know what I'm saying? If we can't come to a compromise, then, you know, you give them the option. You don't just like kind of cut people off out of nowhere. You give them a chance to correct behavior. But if they can't correct it, then yeah, you got to kick rocks, dude.
Okay, so unless it's in a extreme case that you have toxic in-laws, then it's really not really a concern. But if that's the case, then you got to just take the precautions, like explain why, not just because we said so. Even though in that case you'd want to kind of just be like, fuck that shit, right? Explain why, and then create distance, and then it is what it
I
is.
think so.
Let's see. Is it a red flag if someone wants you to meet their family after 3 dates?
It's a little weird. I don't know if it's a red flag. Yeah.
Weird is
I
red
wouldn't see it as
flag,
red
right?
flag. I think it's just kind of weird. Like,
Because some people are really close with their families, so it's
Yeah.
like it makes sense. Like,
He met mine on accident. My mom had said that like she was doing this like big party or whatever with like tons of friends and stuff. I was like, "Oh, you can come." I get there and it's just my family. I'm like,
Oh,
"Are
Yeah.
you for real?"
Yeah,
This is so awkward. I did not want
Yeah.
you to meet my family.
Yeah.
It was like nothing but family. I'm like, yeah.
yeah.
so how did that happen? How did that? Ended up working out, I guess. So
Yeah, it was fine.
you met her family. You
I
saw
rolled
what they
up
were
there
like.
with flowers. I got flowers for her, flowers for her mum, and I think I had chocolates or something. Because I want to make a good impression. Like, I've never met a mother before, so I want to look like I'm a decent guy. So I bought her flowers. I bought, like, for Jefrrel and for her mother.
Uh-huh.
Like, who's not kind of like that? Yeah, that's a good
It was more
impression.
awkward for you. For
Yeah,
you,
it
you were
was-
just going through the motions.
Yeah, I guess it wasn't awkward. It was awkward for me because that's not what I planned. And I was like, man, he's going to think this is way more serious than, I'm really looking for at the moment. It's like, wow, she brought her like all this family to meet. And I'm like, wow, we're not there.
Yeah, yeah, it was a lot because I had to meet all of her family. So yeah,
Yeah. Not planned.
yeah.
How about you? After 3 dates,
3 days. Well, I think I met her mom probably like first date.
oh no way.
Yeah, but that was because like pandemic. She had just like moved out of her apartment and moved back home. You know what I'm saying? Because school had shut down or whatever, whatever. So like I had to go pick her up. So her mom answered the door. So I met her mom first date, but I think we had been like talking on the phone or whatever for like a couple months before that. So we had like a lot of time to really feel each other out. But I met her mom after the first date. I think we started dating. No, we started dating November 29th. I think Christmas I was at her house, and I met her dad Christmas.
So that's like a few months though.
Yeah, it was a few months, but like I said, they knew of me beforehand. We just hadn't been on dates yet.
So that kind of takes the awkwardness off then. If they
Yeah.
they already know about you, like the pending meet, is it's impending and
Yeah, so it's not like I was just some random guy that showed up. They were like, "Oh, okay, this is the guy."
Yeah, like you.
that'd be funny.
Yeah.
Like, who's this guy? Yeah.
that's hilarious.
Yeah.
Okay, so it doesn't really matter how soon you meet the parents, it seems like. It just matters
You wouldn't
how.
want to leave it too long though, because then it's kind of weird. Like, you don't do it too early, but you don't.
But
do it
you
too
seemed
late.
really comfortable just saying, okay, like I know my mom's gonna be there. You're probably gonna meet them, even though there's supposed to be other people there, right? You knew he was gonna meet your mom, so you were pretty comfortable with that.
Yeah. Oh, again, it seemed like really
Why
casual.
why were you comfortable with that? Would you have been comfortable with any guy just meeting your mom? Like you probably knew, okay, I'm into this guy. It's about time, or no?
Yeah, I mean, I think I don't know how soon that was. Do you remember how soon that was?
That was pretty early on.
Was it like?
Like
Yeah.
3 dates?
No, not that.
No,
Because
it
again,
would
we
have
were
been.
friends for a while.
It would have probably been a couple of months after we had initially met. So we'd
So
been
more
talking
than 3
and-
dates then.
Yeah, but we kind of started off slow. We met, and then we started talking on the phone, and yeah, we caught up here, caught up there, and it was kind of gradual, you know.
Oh, okay.
And then after a
So
couple months of
equivalent to 3 dates though.
that- so it was
probably.
kind of still early to be meeting the family, though. Yeah.
Well,
so-
it seemed like it worked out for you guys.
Yeah.
So whatever it did,
Oops.
yeah.
Yeah, it's like, well, it's got to happen anyway, so just get it done now. And that was that. So.
Okay, but you guys would say 3 dates is
But-
too early though.
Yeah.
Again, the plan wasn't you meeting my family. You were going to meet my mom. Like, not family. The family part was an accident.
Yeah.
There's one thing to like meet the family. Oh, you're just gonna meet my mom. Like,
Yeah, immediate family is one thing, but then like the cousins, uncles, brothers, like
yeah, like
Yeah.
the one person I
that's
haven't
it.
seen since I was
Yeah.
5.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
okay.
that's
what
why I
like,
didn't make it a
who's
big
this
deal.
brother
I was
rolled
like,
up,
oh yeah, my mom's doing something. Like you
Yeah.
can, they'll be friends and stuff. It's just kind of like very casual. Ugh,
Yeah.
That's not what it turned out to be.
Little did you know.
Yeah.
Okay. What's bad about love bombing, and can it be a positive thing?
No, it's a terrible thing.
Mm-mm.
Love bombing comes after you've kicked someone in the guts and insulted them and
What?
made for like
Wait,
crap.
how
I'm
are we
sorry,
defining? Yeah.
Yeah, can we define?
Love bomb. Well, this is
So
what
it's
narcissists
like-
do. Like they treat you like crap. They make you feel like a dog. And then when you're about to leave, they're, oh, but I love you. Come back. You're the greatest. It's a terrible cycle.
It's like
No,
bipolar love.
that's
Yeah.
not what I think love bombing is.
What's
Well,
love
that's what I've
bombing?
experienced,
I
and
don't
it's
even
the
know what the
worst.
term is. Sorry, define.
What do you think it is first?
That was the same definition
Yeah.
that I knew.
Yeah.
Just like the bipolar love.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
like I don't. Oh, well,
Hot
it's
and
not.
cold?
But you don't even. I don't even think you like necessarily have to be like abusing people or just like. Say like you have a girl you ignore her all the time. She texts you, you never text her back, never text her back, never text her back, and then eventually she's like, all right, well I'm just gonna stop texting him. And then you like you blowing up her phone now. You're sending her cards in the mail and like and then she comes back and you go back to ignoring.
Yeah, it's when you lose grip of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, like when
like
they
hot-
lose grip
hot,
of the
cold, hot,
relationship, and they're like, no, they're gonna go, oh well, come back, I love you, you know, you're the best, and you bomb them with love, so you're like, oh okay, I'll come back, and then when they come crawling back, then you've got the power back, and then you treat them like crap again until they want to leave, and then you drag them back.
Yeah.
It's fun for these people, so
Okay, I guess that is the definition.
And it's not even
of
really
love
about the
bombing.
love. It's more about the control.
it's control.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's no
It's
love.
like
in it
I
all.
can keep you here.
Yeah.
And do whatever I want to
It's a
do.
game.
Okay, but I don't think every love bomber goes that deep into the love bombing
I don't
cycle.
think it's love bomb.
Huh?
I don't think it's love bomb then.
No, I'm saying that some guys they'll just give a lot of attention up front, right? And like just wear their heart on a sleeve. That's love bombing too, right?
I don't think so.
No?
That might just be a little bit too open. I don't think it's love bombing.
So love bombing has the connotation that you do hot cold. You give them a lot and then you take it all
when
away.
they're about to leave you because
Yeah.
you treat them like crap for so long.
And that's why it's the love bomb because you're not getting it beforehand.
So
it's like
in
you go
no
from nothing
situation,
to-
love bombing is healthy. It's always going to be
Definitely not.
toxic.
It's a terrible thing. Yeah.
No.
Never.
Okay. So what about the whole wearing your heart on a sleeve? Is that too good? Like giving flowers on a first date?
What do you mean by wearing your heart on sleeve? Like being emotional?
No, just like, being real complimenting, being real open about,
I mean, being
You're in-
complimenting and being that's just kind of what you do. Like
That's
that's
a good
just when you like people,
Yeah.
you compliment them.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's a good
so
thing.
not the opposite of reserved.
No, you can't be reserved. You're not going to pull a chick being reserved.
Right.
That's not going to work.
Okay, so love bombing it has a bad connotation. It's not like showing her a lot of compliments and
I think you-
affection.
no.
It's doing that and then taking it away and then doing that and
Yeah.
then taking it away.
You drop a bomb on them when you want them to drag them back because they're at the point of leaving.
I think what you're thinking about is more like loving out loud. Like
Yeah,
you're just
sorta.
like, I love my girl. I love my wife. I love you so much. You're the most beautiful thing I've ever seen.
I think
Here,
that's
take
fine.
these. Like
Yeah.
that's loving out loud is different, but I don't think that's love bombing essentially.
No.
But I mean, and even then, that just comes down to the type of person. Some people are really they love that with that same intensity, but it's just very reserved. Like
Yeah.
it's shown differently.
Yeah, that's true. It's personality type.
And
Like,
that's
you show love differently, but in the end, it's are you showing love to the person? Do they feel loved?
So doing the love bombing and staying consistently with it instead of the hot cold.
Yeah.
That's not love bombing. That's just being a real affectionate
No, that's
person.
not love bomb. That's
Yeah,
just
that's not love bombing.
yeah.
Okay.
That's showing love and affection. That's how
Okay,
it
so
should be.
switching the question now. There's another question on this list. Why do people ghost?
because they don't want part of the relationship.
They what? They don't want.
They want out. If they ghost you, then it's over.
People
Don't
don't
play
like
that game.
feeling uncomfortable either.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of uncomfortability that comes with like breaking up with someone, especially if it's not a mutual thing, and then especially if it's like something that they don't see coming. So as a like people don't want to seem like the bad guy. You don't want to see anybody cry or something like even if
So
like,
there's the climax is done, but then you just want to avoid the confrontation part.
a lot
Yeah.
of times, yeah.
Yeah,
that's
you just
usually
wanna
what it is.
Cut it and leave it, but that's not how it should be. At least have the guts to say, no, this is over. I don't want to see you.
Absolutely.
Ew.
But if
Only done it
a
once. I feel bad.
if someone ghosts you and then after 3 days comes back, that's a game. Like that's basically
yeah.
love bombing, so that's not going to work.
And I will say ghosting, I do think a lot of people get it like mixed up. If you go out in a club tonight and you get a number from a girl and you text her in the morning and she doesn't text you back, that is not ghosting. If you have like, if you've established a repertoire with this girl, you've been
Yeah.
talking for a few months
Yeah.
or whatever, and then she stops texting
Yeah,
you back,
definitely.
that's ghosting.
You've got to have a relationship there to ghost them.
Yeah, there's no such thing as one night ghosting,
Yeah,
folks.
if you don't even know them,
be
how can
out
they
here
ghost you?
telling people you got ghosted
Yeah,
because they gave you the wrong number in the club. Don't do
yeah,
that.
yeah. Yeah, it's
So
got to
what
be
is- what is that
something
called?
established.
Huh?
What's that called?
Now you're just unlucky, man. I'm sorry. That's
It
just,
just blew you off. That's all.
yeah,
Yeah.
That's she's not that into you.
yeah.
Okay. What are the pros and cons of online versus meeting in person dating?
I think in person's always better. You can be anybody you want.
Always?
Always, yeah.
There's no pros of online?
Online can be anyone.
I would
I
say
could
the
put any
same thing,
pictures
but I
up
met my
and tell me
girlfriend
anybody.
online because I had that exact same mindset. I still kind of do, but I met my girlfriend online, like during the pandemic. But I will say, like, it wasn't like a really quick thing. Like we spent 3 months on the phone before we even met each other. So it's like we really did a lot of like conversation, like feeling each other out. But would I prefer to do that in person? Would it probably happen faster? Yes. Do I believe in doing it in person? Absolutely.
Do you
But
think
just,
you would have found her in person?
probably not. We discussed that too. We were like, if there was no pandemic, like we probably would have never, you know what I'm saying, have crossed paths. The way
It
we
would have
did.
been great, right? But would you have even had the chance to come across her?
Probably, yeah. Because I used to work in the area where she lives.
Oh,
I didn't
okay.
live there, but I used to work out there. So if ever she had
So
happened
if
to be
you
out.
think that you did sort of run into each other, that's how you met, you still would have got along though. You still would have.
Oh yeah, like
Yeah.
we're that's the thing. Like we met, we just happened to fall into each other.
Yeah.
But we were so similar, like we clicked immediately.
Yeah.
And then we just had things like, oh, you like this, I like this
Yeah,
too.
oh, that's
and then
same
there
with
was
me,
stuff that I
yeah.
didn't like,
Yeah.
stuff that I didn't know I liked that
Yeah.
I didn't know I liked till I met her.
Yeah,
stuff
so
she
you're a
didn't
good
know.
match for each other. You
Yeah.
if you had met either way,
We were really compatible.
Yeah.
So it was like
Yeah.
it was just coincidence that we met through the way we
That's
did.
probably timing though, with the COVID and all that happening. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay,
Makes more
pros and cons. Online versus
Yeah, I'm
getting
still,
approached.
I'm still for in person.
Yeah.
You can't beat that.
Yeah.
I think both work can work. I think that online there's a lot more risk. It's just so much easier to lie when the person's not in front of you. So I'm not saying it can't work. I'm just saying that there's so much more risk of, falling for someone that's not really who you think that they are, because
Definitely shouldn't be used as only as a launch pad. It
Yeah,
shouldn't be like
yeah.
the majority of your relationship shouldn't be online. Like I don't think we would have been chatting for as long as we did if it wasn't for the pandemic because we couldn't go outside. But like once we were able to go outside immediately, we were like, let's.
No, but
so when you
assuming-
actually met, it was
Yeah.
Assuming
Yeah,
that's the whole point is, to meet in person as soon as possible, but just
Mhm.
getting approached in person versus getting approached online for that first date. Is there any difference? Is there pros of doing it online versus doing it in person?
I don't see any benefit to online.
Yeah, I think it's
Like
probably
unless
just
it's a
personal
circumstance,
preference.
like in your case, like
Yeah.
with the lockdown, that's a different situation.
Or if you're
but-
like a nervous person or you don't travel in the same circles, say you don't like you don't go out enough to meet people, but like, you know what I'm saying? It's not like you're like a hermit or anything, but like I don't like going to clubs or I don't like, you know what I'm saying? It's not really random that you run into somebody on the train or something like that you're going to fall in love with. So it's like if you don't have enough outside activities to meet people, then yeah, online I guess it'll work for you. Or if it could be somebody that you've met in person but you just approach them online. I've seen it happen like that too. Like some people have confidence issues, or some people just they're better with words. Like some people are poets and they just don't speak very well. Things like that.
So that medium of having the pictures and screen is just helpful for some people to
Exactly. I would say like it's like the new age, like writing a letter or something like that. People just like write love letters or whatever. But I mean, like terminology's changed and we're a lot more direct now. But like it's kind of like the same premise.
How did you guys meet?
We met in person, but I think it's kind of harder to make a good impression online. Like, you've really got your picture and a message.
Mhm.
And if you don't word your message in a way that doesn't capture her attention, she's just going to blow you off. But in person, it's more than just what you say, it's your whole presence. You can come across better. You can make a better impression in person.
you didn't make a good impression.
What do you mean? You're sitting right here.
Tell us the story. So it was at the gym, I heard.
No, it was actually
No.
at a bonfire.
Yeah, it was at
okay.
Huntington Beach.
A bonfire.
So,
What was your opener?
well, I didn't really have an opener as such. I went there because one of my mates was putting the bonfire on. He had a bunch of people over, and so I'm like, yeah, I'll go along. I might meet somebody. You never know. And she was kind of the same situation. So I didn't even see her first up. I kind of got there. I didn't know everybody, but I knew some people. I was sort of going around everybody, just saying hi. I didn't even see her for a while, and then I was sort of over there getting a drink and I look up and she was just sitting there by herself. I'm like, oh, she looks good. I'll go talk to her. So I just walked up, said hi. We got to talking and just talked the rest of the night. Went from there. So
Yeah, I didn't think much of it. I wasn't there really to meet a guy. I was just kind of there to.
Okay, I just want to comment on that right now. I noticed that when I meet girls in person, a lot of them are not open to having any kind of dating experience, right? Because that's just
Yeah.
not the mental space. Like you just said, you weren't
oftentimes have
even
that wall up. Yeah.
right. You weren't even thinking about that, right?
Yeah.
Online, they are there to meet somebody. Or I mean, there's the majority of girls that waste time and they're there to just get validation. But that's not what I'm talking about. The girls who are there to meet somebody, they really are open. Like
Intentions do come out super quick online.
they're
Like,
emotionally
what do you wanna do?
available.
Yeah.
And that's really reassuring when you're trying to date as a dude, right? So like, so then what happened? You weren't emotionally really available, but it was a good conversation. And then what?
No, well, he didn't even ask for my number.
What?
Well,
He just-
yeah, it's kind of funny how it went because, like, we were talking, and like I said to my buddy, I'm like, oh, I should get a number, and he's like, nah, man, don't worry about it. Just I'll have her over next week. We'll do it again. Just get it done. I'm like, but I felt like I should get a number. I kind of went against my own feelings, but I listened to him, and he's like, nah, man, just wait till next time. I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever. But
Yeah.
I shouldn't have done that.
I
should've got a
didn't
number
think
down
anything.
there,
I thought it was weird because he was talking to me for a while, so
Yeah.
I just assumed that it would happen. But
but,
I was like,
it's what I would have done, but I listened to. What he
Yeah, I was
saying.
like, okay.
Yeah, okay. I'll wait
So
till
would
next
it have
time.
made a difference if he got your number that night?
no. Again, I didn't care. Like if it would have happened, I was like, all right, but cool.
Actually, I think it worked out the best. The way it worked out is how it worked out because she kind of wasn't at that stage looking for
She
anything.
wasn't 100%
So
there
I
yet.
think the way it went naturally is the only way it could have worked because we had that initial meet, good conversation, but then kind of lost each other in life because I didn't get a number. I only knew her by her first name. I didn't know where she lives. So I'm like, how do I even
Her
find
first
her?
name's not important.
Yeah. Yeah, so I couldn't find her then. I'm like, oh, well, that sucks. I guess I'll never see her again. But then we ran into each other again 6 weeks later. And I'm like, oh, cool. This time I'm getting a number. So straight away.
Okay. We know where you were at,
Yeah,
Mr.
yeah, so I'm like, I'm not,
Mr.
I'm not
Dog
gonna get
over
away
here.
this time, so.
What about you? The second time you saw him, was it like, oh, I hope he grabs my number now?
No, actually, I ended up bolting out the door.
As soon as you saw him?
No, not as soon. But just because I had to get home and I was
Okay.
like,
You didn't have the time to.
yeah, I was like,
Catch
whatever. I did see him and I was like, okay, whatever. And I bolted, but he ran after me, which I
Oh
thought
my
was
God.
like really
Oh, I had
bold.
to, yeah, I'm not letting it get away.
I was just like, this is awkward. Okay.
I had to yell at her. She was in the car park going for a car. I'm like, hey, Jefrrel. I'm yelling at her. And she's like, huh, what's this? You know? So.
So yeah, I gave him my number and then again didn't think much of it. Was it the next time we hang out that was in a group?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's another group, but that was another 2 weeks. Like, I got a number then, but I still didn't call her.
What?
Yeah, because I'm still like, oh, I got a number. I'll let it. I don't want to look too desperate, you know. So I'll let it go a little while. So it was a couple of weeks.
A
And
couple
then
weeks?
we ran into each other again. I went up to see her, and then we started talking on like texting from that day on, and then it was just on from there. So I kind of started slow, which I think is the only way it could have worked.
Huh. That's
I
interesting.
think if I had have pushed it harder, she was not ready for that.
Yeah, no, I see that. That's interesting. And then things just started happening,
Yeah.
and then you guys
Once
are
we
dating.
started
now.
texting each other, it just went.
Yeah,
just
because
built up pretty
we
quickly,
just
you know.
realized that we had very similar lives. Like we went to the gym every day.
Yeah.
We pretty much ate the same thing.
Well, first thing I remember. That
Did you
first
ask
day-
her on a date?
No, not first up. But the first thing I remember that really impressed me was the first day we started texting was a
mic.
Sunday. So she texted me first. She's like, "Oh, good to see you again." I'm like, "Yeah, cool. Good to see you." She's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Oh, I was about heading to the gym." So I was
Don't
getting
tell
my
me
meals
she
ready."
asked you on the first date.
No, but anyway. So what happened was we were texting. I was getting ready for the gym. So I was making my meals, making my drinks, pre-workouts, all that stuff. And I'm like, "Oh, what are you doing?" She's like, "Oh, I just had my pre-workout." I'm like, "What? A chick having a pre-workout? I've never heard of such a thing." So it's like, man, that's awesome. That impressed me straight away. I'm like, wow, this girl's awesome. She takes pre-workout and goes to the gym. Like, this girl's good for me. So
When did you guys get on the first date though? And how did you ask her?
yeah,
It was no, we met up at the gym.
Okay.
was that
Like-
the first time?
Yeah, I think every time because we both went to the gym every day, so I actually just started to show up at the same time that I knew he was
So
at the gym.
was it more of an approach of like, let's be friends first?
I don't know about him. For me, it was.
For you, it
I
was?
wouldn't look at it as friends, but I think it kind of we took it.
Okay, we
Like,
just
not
clarified
just
that.
jumped into
She
it,
said that she thought of it that way. You didn't.
She did. I
I'd
saw
probably
it-
be in
I
the
saw it
same boat
differently.
as you. I'd be like, yo, I'm trying to date this
Yeah,
girl.
no, I
and
saw
the
it
girl is
differently.
like, I need
Yeah.
to be friends with somebody before I really get to know
She
them.
was
right?
a little harder to lock down because of what she had been through.
Were you just getting out of a relationship or something?
No.
You've been single for a while. You weren't looking to date, but you've been single for a while.
Yeah, I had been single for a while, but
So
still,
you knew his
that relationship, it took a while.
You knew his intentions though.
Yeah, he made it pretty
I was
clear.
pretty upfront with what I wanted.
Yeah.
Like as I got to know her, I'm like, this is someone I'm interested in.
It was not.
So then
yeah.
I was pretty clear about that. It's like, yeah, I like you. I want to get to know you. So
With your girl, was it just you guys talked so much that it was like, yo, we're together now? It wasn't even a conversation to be had?
No, it was. So we went on 3 dates, right? So we had talked for a few months. The first date, cool. Second date was cool. And she was like, yo, I'm not going to take this any further unless we're going to be dating. And I was like, okay, that's cool. Like,
she was the one who initiated.
well, that was the thing. She wanted it like she wanted to be said officially. And my brain like, well, we're dating. This is like a third, fourth date. Like we've been dating for a month now. Like yeah, we're dating. Yeah. But she wanted to be asked.
I'm the same as you. I was in the same mindset. But
at what
like,
point?
you haven't asked me.
But at what point was that? Where she was like, yo, what are we? And it was you. Like, you said it first before him.
Yeah, I was in the same mindset as that. To me, like we were dating. Like
yeah.
No, we like
to her, she's like, oh, we're just talking to each other.
In his mind, we were dating for a while, and that whole time, I'm like, we're just friends. Like,
no.
I think I would have been the same in the same boat as him. Yeah. Like, yo, we're not just friends. You're my girl.
So and like, then
that's exactly how he was. And to this day, we have that conversation. He's like, well, no, we were. I'm like, no, we weren't. Like, unless you ask me the question, we're not dating. Like, we're friends.
Same with your girl, right? She needed to hear that question.
So we were romantic before then. So I'm not sure if you guys were romantic or not before you like actually started dating. But we were romantic before we started dating. So like in my brain, I'm like, oh yeah, it's cool. Like I'm not making an announcement on Facebook or something. Like yeah. But yeah. So
and it's not official.
Yeah. But she was like, no. She was like, I'd like to be asked, and I was like, okay. I can.
And you just wanted to be asked.
Yeah, that's what defines it. Like, you can't just assume the role. Like, no, you gotta ask the girl. Like, it's not automatic.
Yeah, fellas, you can't just assume the role.
Marine Corps, you just show up and start working, dog.
Yeah, you just come in there and you make known your intentions and you just take that role up and you're dating now. So
you guys, I think this is a good point to end it off on. And my camera died like probably 10 minutes ago. So
okay.
So, new lesson is just make sure you ask the girl, "Are you my girlfriend?" Or how do you ask?
Will you be my girlfriend? Don't ask, "Are you my girlfriend?" I don't think that's the correct one. You might not like the answer you get from that one.
Yeah. Well, it's funny you said that because when I finally did officially ask her, I'm like, all right, then do you want to be my girlfriend? She's like, It's like, I thought you wanted me to ask you this. Now you don't even know.
Man. It's a big decision, all right? You gotta,
it's like we've had this whole time, and now you don't even know. You're like,
how'd you guys think it went?
Yeah, I think it's good.
We got through all the questions.